All right. So I thought I'd run you guys through how I make aim offsets really quick. I had to update mine because they weren't exaggerated enough. I just kind of had the head moving around. This is going to be an aim offset for when you're unarmed or maybe just holding a weapon in one hand. And in my Blender file, I do have a bunch of items and stuff that are weight painted so that I can make sure things don't clip and everything like that. So what we're doing is we're in Blender and I'm in the dope sheet in the action editor, and I've already made a bunch of actions because this is me editing ones I've already done. So what action we're looking at here is I do my initial aim offsets all on one track. That way I can do this, I can hit play and see if they all blend well. So initially they're blending pretty good, but I just wanted to go through, and the hands look like they're kind of floating because they're not moving with the rest of the body. So that was mostly what I was fixing, and then just making sure everything was exaggerated enough that it's seeable in Unreal Engine, because sometimes if you don't as realistic as you want to make it, sometimes with animation you do have to exaggerate it because it just, sometimes you just gotta do it, you know? And so what I'm doing is I'm going through each little frame. On the timeline on the bottom, each of those points are the different aim offset. So an aim offset is usually just one frame, should be just one frame, and it is attached to which direction your mouse is looking with the crosshair, basically. So I have a center, center down, center up, left, left down, left up, right, right down, right up. And then if you imagine a grid, which I'll show later, you'll see that where the crosshair is looking will tween basically between those 9 offsets. And that's what a lot of games do these days. Pretty much all games these days, if your character's looking where the mouse is looking, they're using aim offsets. So, and then I also wanted to tweak out which bones I'm exporting, because I think initially when I was testing it, I exported a bunch of deformed bones that I didn't need, which you'll also see me go through and delete. So yeah, right here I'm just seeing where the hand, right now I'm working on the left hand, I'm seeing where it is in reference to the torso basically, and I can see that when I'm turning the torso, it's staying in that same spot. And even realistically, your hands do kind of just naturally move around where your torso moves. So I'm fixing that. And I'll just speed it up so we can skip through all this right now. Okay, so now I'm at a point where I have my main timeline all set up to where I like how the aim offsets look when they tween together, when they blend from one another. And so I'm going through, I'm checking this box on the right side of the screen in Blender to show all the deformed bones, which I'll eventually use to export it in a way that Unreal likes it, but I don't need them keyed. So I'm going through and highlighting all of them and hitting X to take the key off. And this way I just have kind of my rig set up as what I'm looking at for the animations. And I didn't go through this tutorial with a bunch of keys to use to like on your keyboard to key in animations on Blender, but how I was doing it when I was moving the hands around is whatever you have selected on your rig, when you hit I, you can insert a key there, and you can choose rotation, location, and scale, and that's what I was doing. And so now I'm just going through my animations and making sure that I don't have those deformed bones in there. I don't think it really matters for optimization, really, but I'm kind of OCD, and in my head I feel like it helps. I haven't done the research to know if it actually helps, and that's on me. But a lot of times when I make these tutorials, they're mostly for myself anyways, because I have epilepsy and it's in my temporal lobe and my memory is not fantastic. So sometimes when I figure out how to do something, I have a lot of tutorials that I haven't uploaded, which are just sitting on my computer, so I can go back when I haven't worked on something for a while and remember what my workflow was. But this one I figured was important enough to upload it, because sometimes I have a really hard time finding videos for exactly what I want when I'm working between Blender and Unreal Engine. It's gotten better, but... so now that I have finished my master timeline of my aim offsets for my hands, my unarmed, I'm going through to each spot, and at each frame I'm copying the rig with just Control-C, and I'm pasting it in my other actions. So you'll see that I have one that's called master, which is this one, where they're all together in one timeline, so I can tween between them and make sure they flow. And I'm copying them and going down to a specific action, like the center, center down, center up, left, left down, left up, etc., etc. And then you'll see the ones with one frame, which are those specific actions, and I'm pasting the position of everything in that one frame. So right here I'm doing it again. I'm grabbing hand right down, or whatever, right up is what I'm doing, and I'm copying all the rig right there, and then I'm going to paste it on that part. So looks like right now I'm doing just looking to the right, copied it, go to the specific action of hand right, going to frame 1, pasting it, and then inserting the rotation, location, and scale with I on the keyboard. And I go through and I do that to all of these, and these will be the actual pieces I'm exporting, not that master one. The master one's just for my blend file. These ones that I'm going through and copying from my master timeline and pasting on the actual actions themselves, the actions themselves are going to be what I export. So I'll just finish doing that really quick. And now that I've got all my individual actions done from that master timeline, I'm ready to export. So I go in and select the rig that I want to export, and I'm going to the NLA editor and just making sure there's nothing on there. Then I go back to the dope sheet, to the action editor, and I select the action I want to export. I highlight everything and go back to the NLA editor and just make sure that that's the action that's on there by itself. And then in the export settings, I leave the whole top section. I go down to geometry and check that faces are smooth, because that's what Unreal Engine likes. And then I go down to the armature area and I uncheck add leaf bones. And in the baked animation section, I uncheck all actions. And this is a way where I can export a single animation, no matter how long the timeline is, into one file. And that way they're all organized, and if I have to fix a single animation because of clipping, or it just looks weird in general, I can go in and fix that one animation and then bring it back into Unreal Engine and re-import it, and then, you know, it'll be fixed already on my blend spaces and whatever I'm doing. And that's why I have it all broken up this way anyways. So over and over again, you'll just see me doing this process. I'll speed it up, but I go to the NLA editor when I come back from exporting, delete what's in the NLA editor with X, making sure my mouse is in that window so you don't delete your rig or something. Then I go back to the dope sheet, to the action editor, pick my new action, unhighlight and highlight my rig again, go back to the NLA editor, make sure it's the only track in there, go back to export. Once you've exported your first one, all your settings will be the same. But again, the only settings I changed is in geometry. I set smoothing to face. I took off the all actions on the bake, and those little settings I ran over. So yeah, I'll just do that over and over again. I'll speed it up for you. You have all your actions exported as different FBX files, you'll go into Unreal Engine. I didn't show it in this video, but I have another tutorial that shows you generally how to import them. When you import them into Unreal Engine, you're going to want to uncheck importing the mesh, and then it will just have a box that lets you choose your rig. So you select your rig that these animations are for, and it won't import any junk. There won't be any skeletal meshes or new rigs or anything like that. It'll just be the animation. And then in here I'm showing you in my aim offset all those different animations applied, the 9 in that little grid. And just like my master track in Blender before I split them up into their own actions, I can tween between them and make sure that they're all smooth. And then I'm showing you in the actual gameplay it working, and I have multiplayer set up, so I'm just kind of showing from your own perspective. When you're playing, you don't notice them as extreme as when another player is looking at you. So I have 2 little clients set up, and I'm just looking at them from the different screens, alt-tabbing back and forth, and just ensuring that in gameplay they're exaggerated enough that you can actually tell someone's looking around. Because before, that's why I did this whole thing. Initially, it just wasn't extreme enough. I just had my head kind of tilting around, and now I've got the whole torso moving. You can really tell somebody's looking around. And that's kind of it, working between Blender into Unreal Engine with those doing independent animations for aim offsets. So good luck out there.